In this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television, we talk about the elective General Assembly of Fecafoot, which as it up to now remains unclear whether it would or not take place in Yaoundé Central region of the country. And also faithful supporters of the UPC political party have blamed the government for masterminding disunity within the ranks of the party. Plus, our guest tonight, an official from the Delegation of Women's Empowerment and the family, tells us about the predicaments of widow. Good evening to you viewers. We thank you for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television. We begin right away in Bamenda, northwest region of the country, where calm is said to have returned in the Old Town neighborhood in that part of Cameroon after an angry crowd of youths threatened to set the public security office ablaze. They wanted the release of 3 assassins who were suspected to have murdered a 26-year-old boy that was on Sunday at the weekend. Senior reporter Chris Toby tells us more in the following report.
It is following the brutal assassination of one Anyamte Christian last Sunday that the angry population of Old Town quarters in Bamenda besieged the public security premises on Tuesday. The crowd of youth threatened to set the police post ablaze if Amisu, Salisu and Kasimu, being questioned at the said public security, were not handed over to them for killing. The 3 suspects, all sons of the same mother, have, according to the angry crowd, been on many occasions released by the state prosecutor after crimes committed. To them, the state council, speaking in front of the senior divisional officer for Mezam Division and other top-ranking law enforcement officials, promised that the 3 suspects would not be released this time around, but made to answer for their act. They were then transported straight to the Bamenda prison to await trial.
And in Yaoundé Central region of Cameroon, Cameroon's pioneer president of the Senate has installed the Secretary General of the Upper House of the Parliament and his assistant, Michel Meva-Mebutu, and Deputy Bernard Wongolo were commissioned this afternoon at the National Assembly following their appointment by Head of State Paul Biya, and they were told to manage the affairs of the Senate with diligence. The June session of the Senate opens tomorrow morning in the Yaoundé Central region of Cameroon. Still in politics, the purported original faction of the UPC political party has accused the Cameroonian government for destabilizing the party. Some UPC party officials were speaking in a press conference today in the economic capital Douala, where they maintained that Elekam is incompetent to organize free and transparent elections in the country. For Hansen Chanji tells us more in the following report.
The Union of the Population of Cameroon, UPC, that recognizes itself as the main party, have expressed their skepticism on the competence of elections managing body Elekam. The party has therefore called for the creation of an independent National Electoral Commission that will engage all stakeholders for a better organization of the upcoming municipal and parliamentary elections. During a press conference held Wednesday, the Directorate of the UPC said Elekam exhibits partiality in carrying out its functions. The party did not hide its feelings on the election of Maxel Nyap Njifenji as Senate President. They hold that Nyap Njifenji's election does not reflect the choice of Cameroonians because he was only appointed as senator with 29 others. On the question of division within the UPC party, its president, Ndema Same Alexis, held that it is the handwork of the government and the regime of the ruling party, the CPDM, who are bent on destabilizing the UPC party from holding strong to the ideologies of their founding fathers, Ruben Omyobe, Felix Muni, and Ernest Wandi.
From the economic capital Douala, the National Communication Council with its president, His Lordship Befe Ateba, have continued their tour in media houses, that is this time in Buea Southwest region of the country. The message remains the same, that is calling on media houses to exercise their duty with responsibility while upholding the rules and regulations governing the profession. The members of the National Communication Council equally visited some media houses in Buea Southwest, as was the case here in the economic capital Douala. Meantime, we take you this time around to Yaoundé, in the country's political capital, where inhabitants of Oyomabang are decrying upsurge of insecurity in the area, and they are saying that the situation is further compounded due to the presence of bad roads in the area. Our Yaoundé-based correspondent Roland Akong visited the neighborhood and forwarded the following report.
This police post at Councilnel Oyomabang in Yaoundé is intended to ensure the safety and security of inhabitants as well as their properties. But inhabitants say it is not the case. The police post, this inhabitant says, does not function for long. He says it opens at 7 a.m. and closes at 6 p.m., whereas insecurity reigns in the neighborhood.
Ils ouvrent à 7 h du matin. Avant 18 h, ils ont déjà fermé. Voilà la sécurité. Quelqu'un ne peut pas arriver au Councilnel à partir à...
Nobody arrives Councilnel Oyomabang after 9 p.m. Anybody who dares will be assaulted.
Il sera toujours braqué en route.
The bandits recently assaulted and took away from me 12,000 francs.
m'a pris 12 500.
This biker says bandits surrender them with knives and seize their bikes regularly.
On nous arrache les motos partout, on nous met le couteau dans le ventre.
Bikers in Oyomabang, Councilnel, are also exposed to regular harassment by council police over incomplete bike documents. Motorbike is a predominant mode of transport at Councilnel Oyomabang, transporting residents in nook and crannies where township taxis do not pass. Inhabitants of Councilnel Oyomabang in Yaoundé are also complaining of bad roads and insanitary following delays in waste disposal by the company in charge of waste disposal.
Meantime, the holding of the elective General Assembly of Fecafoot is still awaited amid reports of tight security at the Fecafoot head office in Yaoundé, a central region of Cameroon, and the resolution of a crisis meeting to diffuse the tension between the members of the Executive Bureau of Fecafoot, which held today at the Prime Ministry, is still awaited. Meanwhile, Fecafoot board members were all restrained from gaining access into their offices this morning, and they are opposed over the holding of today's elections, as the various candidates vying for the post do not want the elections to actually take place precisely John Beginning Day. And it should be recalled that John Beginning Day had maintained his standpoint that any elections would be declared null and void. He maintained that the elections which were to hold today should simply be cancelled unless a meeting to diffuse the tension actually takes place. Let's listen to the one of the candidates, John Beginning Day, spoke to Yaoundé-based correspondent Roland Akong. That was yesterday.
Definitely, there should be no election, even if they pretend to. It is completely void ab initio. I am one of the candidates, but when it will be formally and properly convened, I will stand as candidate. And I'm mandated until there is a General Assembly meeting convened by the President. And in the absence of the President, it is the first Vice President who acts in his place and convenes it. I have not been able to do that, and I have to do it within 60 days. It is a question of, being there until the General Assembly elects a new Executive Bureau.
And it seems all is not well with all the candidates vying for posts in Fecafoot. One of the candidates, that is Marlene Mvutu, is reported to have been picked up for questioning that was today in Yaoundé. Sources recalled that she was being questioned for having extorted money from parents to train their children in a football school abroad, and she never did so, but she has reportedly refuted all the allegations against her. We surely shall be coming back to that in our subsequent newscast. Meantime, that does it for this segment of the news. Up next is Talking Point. Thanks once again, viewers, for joining us tonight on Talking Point. Our guest will be telling us, like I indicated in the headlines, on the predicament of widows in the country. She is an official from the Delegation of Women's Empowerment and the Family, precisely the Vuri Divisional Delegate of Women's Empowerment and the Family. Good evening, Madam Tamsa Louise Florence, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Good evening, my dear, and good evening, all televiewers. Let me correct one thing. I'm the divisional delegate of Douala 2.
Of Douala 2,
not the subdivisional.
Women's Empowerment and the Family. Thank you so much. And this is going to be the third edition of Widows Day that Cameroon will be joining the international community to commemorate. And we see there are other days that are set aside to commemorate the woman. There's the Women's Day, there's the Mother's Day, that some of the problems of widows could still be raised. Why a particular day just for the widows?
Yeah, the particular day is set for the widows because they have noticed that the widows are rejected, they are discriminated, they are suffering from all sorts of violence, and it's like just nobody takes a notice of that. So that is why they thought it wise to put a particular day on it. Because when we talk the general problems of the woman, the problem of the widow is diluted inside the general problem of the woman. But when a day is set aside for a particular situation, it means people have to go deep into that situation to raise up issues and to look for solutions for them.
So is it actually is it in conformity with the theme of this year, which is eliminating all discriminatory practices and customs against the widow?
Yeah, it is acting.
The essence of
when we look at the theme, which is acting together to put an end to discriminatory practices and customs towards widows, it calls for everyone in the community, the man, the woman, the non-married, the married, the widow, to put their energy together so that this particular woman who has not chosen to lose her husband should be considered, and considered very well. That is, the other actors of the society should put a hand to help her, not only to overcome the psychological situation that she is going through, but the material situation that is confronting, and all the other things. We know what is happening around us. You know, some widows, as soon as your husband is dead, you are rejected from your family, and sometimes from most of the time from the family of the husband that was with you, and you are sent out of the house, no matter how many children you have, no matter the age of the children, and everything just goes upside down. Meanwhile, you are still trying to understand what happened to me. Why did my husband die at this age or at the other age? You are there confronted to financial situations, financial issues, violence, psychological violence, even physical violence. We know of some widows who have been well beaten just because the family of the husband assumes that this woman has killed her husband.
So those are some of the cases you have been receiving at the delegation?
Yeah, we receive some of them, but most of the time, as every problem of the woman, we are still fighting for these women to come out to speak. Because some of them are so afraid, because the cultural background of Cameroon is laying a very big importance on witchcraft. They are like, if you go and speak, they will kill your children. If you don't go about the practices, if you don't carry out the practices or the customs of the widowhood, they will hold back your children, they will kill your children, you will become deaf, you become dumb, you will become crazy. All these beliefs makes these women to stay there and accept the unbelievable thing that you can imagine.
So how does the delegation now comes in following all these troubles that widows do go through. How do you assist in maybe bringing these widows understand that they have a problem that needs to be solved?
Yes, we make educative talks to every woman, whether you are a widow or not. Then on the day that is coming, that is the 23rd of June, we call them. They are to take part on a round table, and we discuss with them, what are your rights? What are the rights that you lose when you are a widow? What are the rights that stays with you? Who is supposed to talk about the things of your husband? Because some of them think that the brother can just pop in and say, okay, it's good now. Can you pack your things and go out? Let me stay in my brother's house. And you know, when you are ignorant of certain things, anything can happen to you. So we create an awareness of their rights. And from that awareness, many of them start to speak. And then we treat the problem cases by cases. If we need lawyers, we call for lawyers. If we just need a simple counseling, if you need an orientation, maybe your file of maybe your husband was a salary, there is a problem at one level or the other, we try to help you, to guide you and to accompany you in that process.
In a situation where a widow is confronted with some of these predicaments, problems, maybe the in-laws are maybe forcing her out of the house, problems she is not even capable of taking care of her own children, how does she manage the situation? How can she manage the situation?
She cannot manage the situation alone, because this is a weak person. She cannot manage the situation alone. We get into contact. I mean, she gets into contact with us, and if it is a law case, we contact the lawyers to intervene. If it is a situation where the local government, that is the SDO or the DO can intervene, or the police, the gendarmerie, or whosoever who can intervene, we introduce her to them. We guide her, we orientate her, and we follow up until we have a good result.
Apart from the families, maybe apart from the families and some customs, there are also indications that there are so many institutions in the society where the rights of the widow is being violated. Maybe like in churches, maybe in some institutions where she's working, her rights are actually being violated in some of these institutions.
Well, in churches, they are doing a great job. From what I know, they are trying to set a certain number of rules to accompany the widow so that she should not suffer that much. And some of these pastors, some of these priests, they go around during the burial ceremony, and if the widow chooses to be accompanied by a pastor or a priest, they do it. There is an improvement in the church. But now, I don't recall of a particular enterprise that is getting a widow to suffer just because she's a widow. I don't recall of that. But what I know is that the members of the community usually have a certain look on the widow. It's like they reject her. You become like somebody strange to them, though you have been living with them. At the time your husband is dead, the regard, the look on you, the way they look on you start to change. You become a sort of strange person. It's like you are carrying dead with you, you know.
What causes the rejection? Why should it only be on the part of the woman? Because men too do lose their wives. Why should it be only on the part of the woman?
But you know, we are not in a society where the woman has the most powerful part of the society. We are in a society where the men have the powerful. I mean, they are the power men people. That is, they organize it in such a way that and when you look at it closely, it is the women that are in our society that frustrate the other women. I've not heard of a situation whereby a woman will lose her husband and it is the man that will come and put her into practice of widowhood. It's always the women, that is either the sisters of the man that is dead, or the other widows, that is the what we call in the quarter the mbanya, that put her in that situation. So it is a belief. These are some of the beliefs that we have to fight, and to make people understand that being a widow has not changed anything on you. Instead, if there is a change, it must be something that will attract people to help you.
And luckily enough, there's a law that favors widows in the country.
Yeah.
Precisely as it is stipulated that a widow after 9 months of mourning, it becomes normal and single. But that is not accepted in the society.
Yeah, it's the widow first that start the problem. Most of them are not in a mood. That is a psychological situation. Most of them are not in the mood to restart their life with another person. Then comes now the other beliefs. Yes, you have killed our brother because you want to start a new life. Yes, you have done this. Yeah, if you want to leave, you leave, but you don't go along with this or that. So it is a belief. But the first part to play, as far as this particular law is concerned, is to deal with the widows. Because some of them, and I don't blame them for that, are so much involved in their relationship, in their marital relationship, that it becomes very, very difficult for them to start another life with somebody else.
So one of the advices that they are giving is that they should move on.
Yeah, they should try to do what we used to call in French, le deuil du deuil. That is, after you have mourned your husband, you have to wake up. There are children looking at you, and there is your life that you have to carry on. But it's not as easy as I'm saying it. It's not as easy. It's like you have a feeling of guiltiness that is inside you, that maybe you are betraying the memory of your husband if you start a new life with somebody else. That sentiment, that feeling of guilty makes you to even, some of them even run away from men. They even run. I mean, they can be very nice, very talking, very sociable, but when it comes to marriage issue, they say, no, thank you. Then the second aspect is that when you have had a bad life with your husband, that is when the relationship was not harmonious, you don't want to take a second chance because you don't believe in men anymore. So you don't want to take a second chance. It's like, what are you going to do me worse than what the other one did to me?
Those are some of the things that they should try and avoid. You earlier mentioned that it has been difficult, maybe bringing the widows together to be able to sensitize them and make them understand their rights in the society 3 years after, because this is the third edition that Cameroon is going to be commemorating, that is going to be on Sunday. What has changed so far? Are you seeing the widows coming into realization that their rights need to be preserved and protected? Yeah,
they are forming groups. That's a very good idea. They are forming groups. We have groups of widows that are organizing this coming day, and basically the organization is talks. Then beside that educative talk, they invite people that can enlighten them in the process of succession. After the burial of the husband, what do you do? Where do you go? What documents do you furnish to the former employer of your husband or whosoever be it? Then, besides this, they organize the little things that they can sell. People can come and buy for them to make a little bit of money. And I appreciate it because there is an improvement. The first year, we could hardly find 2, 3, 5 groups of widows. That is, widow organizing themselves in associations. But now there are some of them. And the church also, as I'm saying it, and I appreciate what they are doing, even within the church, some of them have groups of women. Within the church, during this period, there are the educative talks that are organized, and the pastors and the priests come and tell them, what does God say about the widow? What are you, as a member of community, expected to do to a widow as a Christian? So I think this is one thing that is very good. But from what the church or the law says, and what is actually happening on the field, that is where our battle lies. because we want to know the laws can be there, the people can be there, the church is there, the Bible is there, we are there, the lawmakers are there, but what is happening on the field? That is where we are. And that is where the women empowerment and family comes in.
And the change needs to happen.
Yeah,
Indicated. Thanks indeed, Madam Tamsa Louise Florence, for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Yes, thank you very much.
That was an official from the Littoral Littoral Delegation of Women's Empowerment and the Family, telling us on some of the predicaments of widows in the country. We thank you so much, viewers, for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television. Good evening to you, and have a wonderful stay in the company of our programs.